Welcome. Today, we're going to talk about something really fascinating: the unspoken roles we all learn to play in our families. You know, those scripts we get handed as kids that can, without us even realizing it, end up directing our entire adult lives. So, let me ask you this. Do you ever feel like you're stuck in a loop? Maybe it's the same kinds of arguments, the same relationship dynamics, just over and over again. Well, that feeling? It might just be an old family role making a surprise curtain call in your life today. So, what exactly is a family role? Let's get this straight right away. It's not a personality flaw. It's not who you really are. Think of it more like a survival strategy, right? It's a part you learned to play when you were a kid just to handle stress and keep your family system chugging along, even if that system was, a little shaky. Now, you might be thinking, is this just some pop psychology fad? And the answer is a definite no. This whole idea of family roles, it has a super rich history, and it's rooted in decades of real clinical observation. So let's take a quick look at where it all came from. It all really kicked off back in the 1950s with a guy named Dr. Murray Bowen. He had this game-changing idea that a family wasn't just a bunch of individuals, but a single interconnected emotional unit. Then in the 60s, groups like Al-Anon started noticing these really consistent patterns, these specific roles in families that were dealing with addiction. And then by the 70s and 80s, brilliant therapists like Virginia Satir and Claudia Black started to formally define them, giving us the names we use today, like the scapegoat and the lost child. All right, so let's meet the cast of characters. We're going to break down 6 of the most common survival roles that researchers have identified over the years. And as we go through them, just kind of see if any of them feel a little familiar. First up, we've got the hero. This is the kid who basically becomes the family's shining star. Their job is to bring pride and a sense of, hey, we're doing okay, to a family that might be really struggling behind closed doors. They are the ultimate overachievers. And you can see how that role evolves, right? As a kid, they're getting straight A's and winning trophies to get that family approval. But that pressure doesn't just go away. It hardens into this deep-seated fear of failure in adulthood. Hello, workaholism. The big challenge for the hero is to learn, truly learn, that their worth isn't tied to what they do. It just is. Okay, next up is the caretaker. This is the child who becomes a little parent, stepping up to take on responsibilities that are way, way beyond their years. We're talking managing the house, taking care of younger siblings, even trying to solve their parents' problems. As a kid, being the responsible one can feel like a badge of honor, but the cost is huge. They completely forget about their own needs, and that sets them on a direct path to adult burnout. They often end up in helping professions, but they feel this crushing guilt anytime they try to set a boundary or, take care of themselves. Their whole journey is about realizing that self-care isn't selfish, it's absolutely essential. Now for a really tough one, this scapegoat. This is the child who gets labeled the problem child. All the family's tension, all their unspoken issues get piled onto this one kid. Their acting out becomes a convenient distraction from what's really going on. So the defiant kid often grows into an adult who instinctively challenges authority. But here's the amazing thing about the scapegoat. While they carry a lot of hurt and injustice, they also develop this incredible resilience and a fierce sense of independence. Their biggest challenge, and their greatest strength, is learning how to channel that fire into fighting for what's right, for themselves and for others. All right, next we have the lost child. So, what do you do when your family life is total chaos? Well, for this child, the answer is simple. You disappear. You make yourself invisible. You become the quiet one who never causes any trouble, retreating into the safe, predictable worlds of books, video games, or just your own imagination. This kid grows up to be a very self-sufficient and often highly creative adult. But that independence comes with a price. They can really struggle with loneliness, have a hard time even knowing what their own needs are, let alone expressing them. For them, growth is all about taking the brave step to be seen, to speak up, and to take up space in the world. And now, let's talk about the family's entertainer, the mascot. This is the kid who learns really early on that being funny is a survival skill. They're the class clown, the jokester, always ready with a laugh to cut the tension and distract everyone from what's really hurting. Everyone loves the mascot, right? They're charming and fun to be around. But as an adult, that humor becomes a shield, making it hard to have serious conversations. And this is the heartbreaking part. They can feel incredibly lonely, even in a crowd. because nobody gets to see the real person behind the smile. Their big task is learning that it's safe to be vulnerable and that their true feelings are what really connect them to people. Okay, our final role is one you might not have heard of, the mastermind. When you grow up in a home that feels totally unpredictable, this child learns that the only way to feel safe is to be in control. They become little strategists, sometimes even manipulative, just to manage the chaos around them. As adults, masterminds can be wildly successful. I mean, they're amazing strategic thinkers. But that constant need for control makes it really, really hard to build trust and form genuine relationships. For them, the path forward is about learning to let go, to trade the illusion of safety that control gives them for the beautiful, messy risk of real connection. Okay, deep breath. If any of that felt a little too real, you're probably asking, so what now? Am I stuck with this? The answer is absolutely not. The amazing thing is, once you recognize the script, you get to start rewriting it. So where do you even start? First, just reflect. Think back. What was expected of you as a kid? How do you react to stress today? Then talk to someone you trust, a friend, a therapist. Getting an outside perspective is huge. Try journaling. Just writing down your feelings and reactions can show you patterns you never knew were there. And finally, pay attention to those big emotional reactions. You know, the ones that seem way too intense for the situation. They're often a direct clue. And I have to say this because it's so important. This is not about blaming anyone. It's not about pointing fingers at your family. It's about understanding. It's about looking back with compassion at the kid who did what they had to do to survive, so that now, as an adult, you can consciously choose a new way forward. So let's just leave it with this thought. Your childhood role, that was a script written for survival. But you're not that kid anymore. You're the one holding the pen now. So the only question left is, what story are you going to write?